Hi there, Keith here from Target Property Spain. Welcome to episode 4 of Unfiltered Opinions. So this is where we give you our opinion on the latest news in the Spanish property market. And wow, have we got some news for you this time. So as you've probably heard, last week the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez dropped an absolute bombshell. In one sweeping statement, he managed to make waves with property owners, potential property buyers, anyone even thinking about buying a property in Spain. We've been absolutely flooded with phone calls, emails, messages, all asking, so what does this mean for me? So we thought we would try and break this down for you. So first things first, what did he actually say? Well, I quote, "After a thorough study, the purchase of homes by non-resident foreigners from outside the EU will be limited. More specifically, the tax burden they will have to pay in case of purchase will be increased to 100% of the value of the property." So, it sounds crazy, right? But hang on, announcements in Spain are often just about as clear as mud. And at the moment, nobody, and I suspect that includes the Prime Minister himself, really knows what this is all about. There are two main theories. Theory number one, a 100% tax on the purchase price. So if you're a non-EU buyer, you'd pay 100% of the property's value as tax. So you're buying a villa for €1 million, that now costs you €2 million. I mean, honestly, that's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. Nobody, and I mean nobody, would buy a property under those terms. And if that did happen, well, the Costa del Sol property market, it would collapse as quickly as you can say, hasta luego. Theory number two, a 100% increase in property-related taxes. So that's a lot more plausible of a theory, a 100% increase in the taxes you pay post-purchase, so the ongoing taxes. Now, depending which taxes he's talking about, it could be manageable, it could be a little bit painful. It really depends. Is he talking about IBI? Is he talking about non-resident income tax? Well, the truth is no one knows. And it's this uncertainty that's causing all the waves in the market. But not only that, let me explain why this is one hot mess. Taxes in Spain are not decided nationally. They're decided locally. Spain is made up of 17 autonomous communities, and each community is responsible for setting its own tax. For example, here in Andalusia, ITP, or the tax you pay when you buy a second-hand property, well, that's set as 7%. In places like Madrid, for example, it's lower. In Murcia, for example, it's higher. So are we really expecting all 17 autonomous communities to play along with this? Because, spoiler alert, they're not going to. And let's look at the ripple effect. As a non-EU buyer, if you've been priced out of buying a property, what's your logical next step? Renting. And that's only going to drive rental prices up even further. I mean, rental prices here, they've doubled in the last 5 years. A typical 2-bed, 2-bath apartment that used to cost €750 a month, that's now more like €1,500 a month. And pushing people into rentals is only going to keep driving up those prices. So what's this really about? Who's the real winner and who's the real loser here? So Sanchez says he wants to prioritise housing for residents. But is this really about solving the housing crisis? I don't think so. There is a housing crisis in Spain. It's obvious. It's plain to see. But what's the cause? Is the real cause foreign investment? I don't think so. I think we should be looking at the absolute lack of social housing, the bureaucracy and the red tape involved in getting planning permission and building permits, and not to mention Spanish second home ownership. I've been in Spain 20 years. I've got a lot of Spanish friends, and most of them own a second property. And the majority of those rent them out on Airbnb. Foreign ownership is such a small percentage of the market nationally that to blame foreign investment for where we are today is simply absurd. So what's this really all about? Well, let's call it exactly what it is. It's political theatre. It's nothing more, nothing less. It's headline grabbing, and he's certainly done that to win votes. I mean, don't forget, Sanchez has a minority coalition government. So passing new tax laws, well, that's an absolutely monumental task. He'd have to get the proposal through Parliament. He'd have to win over all the coalition partners, not to mention getting it through Senate, where he doesn't even have a majority. This is not going to happen anytime soon. My guess is it will never happen. So if you are buying a property, my key advice is don't get spooked by the headlines. Relax. It's all good. And even if you do think there's a faint chance of this happening in the future, speed things up and buy now. In fact, this is one of the few times you can probably thank Spanish bureaucracy for dragging its heels. Well, that's all we know up to now. As soon as we get more news, we'll be back in touch. But until then, let me know in the comments, what do you think? Is this really about solving the Spanish housing crisis, or is it headline grabbing for votes? Catch you next time.